to the Saturday Morning Nerd Show. I'm your host, Marcus Blake, and join with me, as always, the brewing sailor, Mr. Brendan Smith.
Vader says hello to.
Brendan got a new toy for this place.
Actually, it's an old toy. I've had it for a while. I finally put it somewhere where people could see it. So
nice. And Mr. Chad Womack from the Electric Jellyfish Podcast.
Morning, guys.
All right. We have reached the season finale of The Mandalorian Season 3, and we would like to now introduce Din Grogu. If you haven't watched the season finale of The Mandalorian, obviously you're not true fans of this show or a nerd. I'm just calling you out.
I would like to ask Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau why they chose Din Grogu, because it's Sabine Wren of Clan Wren, Bo-Katan of Kryze of House Kryze, Fen Rao of Clan Rao.
And see, we're already jumping into theories and all that.
Why did they flip it?
Yeah, I was kind of curious about that myself. Wouldn't it be
somebody
Grogu Jaren?
One of many people on the internet pointed this out. It could be because he's actually adopted and not of the bloodline.
That's probably a nice. That's
Maybe
probably
so.
a nice. What am I trying to say?
Nice excuse.
Excuse. What it really comes down to is Din Grogu is probably a shit ton easier to say than Grogu Jaren, and probably will sell better when he hits his inevitable growth spurt and they make him a Mandalorian Jedi.
Yeah. Well, whatever. I don't think the name is that important, but I get being logical and stuff. Either way, it doesn't matter. We got plenty to talk about with season 3 of The Mandalorian and Disney in its current state with Star Wars, especially with all the news coming out of Star Wars Celebration over the last couple of weeks. But before we get into that big discussion and complaint session, there's a few other things that we got to do. So anyway, before we get to talking about The Mandalorian Season 3 and Disney and everything, we have to get to some of the current movies that are out in the theater, as well as some other nerd news of stuff that is going out. First things first, a couple of movies. I hope nerds have gone out to go see Renfield with Nicolas Cage's Dracula. If you have not, whether you wait till you can rent it or it's on demand or it gets Peacock, it is definitely a movie you should check out. It is absolutely hysterical. And Nicolas Cage is basically just being Nicolas Cage, but as Dracula. And it works. So, very funny. The story is not really that original, but I do like the idea of Renfield in a toxic relationship being in group therapy, talking about his toxic relationship. So definitely check that out. You can also read Alex Moore's review of Jake Gyllenhaal in the movie The Covenant, which is coming out this week. And also another movie to check out. You'll probably have to rent it on demand or download it through other sources. To Catch a Killer with Shailene Woodley and Ben Mendelsohn. Kind of a Silence of the Lambs, type of movie, catching a serial killer. That was pretty good. But there is one movie that I absolutely want to recommend. I was pleasantly surprised by it because when I first heard about it, I thought it was kind of a Christian propaganda film, and it really was not. Go online and you can check out my interview with Sean Patrick Flannery of the Boondock Saints and Mr. Young Indiana Jones. We had a great discussion this past weekend about his new film, Nefarious, which is very much in the vein of Primal Fear. It's a serial killer about to be executed who claims that he is a demon and has to be evaluated by a psychologist who has to sign off on the execution. And this was probably one of the best roles that Sean Patrick Flannery has ever done. He was absolutely amazing. Definitely gave Edward Norton a run for his money in the Primal Fear-esque type performance. And it really wasn't about religion or anything. It felt more like an episode of Supernatural or The X-Files, to be quite honest. So you can check that out. It's still playing in theaters, but I think you can rent it on demand as well. And after with the interview, I immediately had to call Brendan and give him some fun news. We actually have an update on Boondock Saints 3 from the ultimate source. It is happening. We don't know when. They are working on it. The script is being finalized, and it's really just coming down to a shooting schedule with everybody. Because, Norman Reedus has got another spin-off Walking Dead show, and Willem Dafoe is pretty much in everything and stuff like that.
The way you phrased it just reminded me of Robin Williams making fun of Donald Rumsfeld press conferences. We don't know where. We don't know when, but something terrible is going to happen. Thank you. No questions?
well, it was kind of funny before we started our interview. He even said, it's like, hey, my phone calls this morning were all about the Boondock Saints 3. So hopefully they can start shooting later this year and have it out next year to go along with the 25th anniversary of the first movie.
That makes me feel old.
Yeah, I know. But very excited. It was great to hear it from him and the excitement for this movie. The Boondock Saints 3, you didn't really need the sequel, although it was a lot of fun. But at this point, you gotta end it with a trilogy. Just saying.
If I just get to see Julie Benz one more time with that accent, I'm happy.
Willem Dafoe commenting on her shoes.
Yeah.
But that's what's going on in movie theaters and stuff. As for gaming, I hope that some of you have completed Resident Evil 4 like I did and Chad's working on and stuff. And definitely the big game that's coming out this week is Jedi Survivor, the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. So it'll probably be the last great big game we get before the fall hits. Because if you were waiting for Skull and Bones, who the fuck knows what's going on with that game or when
they need to just cancel that game. I mean, that game is vaporware on the level of Duke Nukem Forever. How did they screw up such a simple concept? You take the pirate part of AC4, you make it a co-op game, you make it multiplayer. This is so easy. How did Ubisoft screw this up?
Well,
there is going to be a Netflix or someone just absolute series on how badly this got screwed up. Because at this point, how many millions of dollars have they sunk into this game? And it's never going to make anything back.
Probably not. I'm still curious about it, but it's gone in the way of, we're on our 6th delay. At this point, it's approaching the record of how long it took to get Cyberpunk 2077 released. And even when it got released, it still took 10 different updates to finally get it to a point where it was a good game.
Dude, at this point, developers are going to have children that work on this game.
Wow.
It's such a mess. And then they came out and they were all proud. Last year they came out and were like, oh, look at this great game. And everybody was like, that's hot garbage. That looks like you can't even get off your boat. You just sail your boat into the island and click on trees. Are you shitting me?
Gamers trying are like, oh, I'm just going to go back to playing Sea of Thieves with my crew now.
Yeah.
As of 2021, they've spent. This is as of 2021 now. They've spent 120 million on it.
Okay.
God.
And that was and now we're 2 years since. And let's see, when was that game first announced?
It was originally slated for a 2018 release.
Right. So okay, so this thing's probably been in development. When did Assassin's Creed 4 come out?
Goodness.
Black Flag? Didn't Black Flag come out in 2009, 2008? Everybody's having to Google a spin.
Let's see. So Black Flag 2013.
Okay. 2013.
So basically, this thing went into developed as soon as they realized they had something with the sailing combat in Black Flag.
Right.
So this thing has been in development for 10 years. At $120 million, we can then extrapolate that, okay, in 8 years, so they're dumping $15-20 million a year into this game. So we're looking now at about 140-150 million. And folks, we're getting to what they spent on the first Ant-Man movie.
Okay, so here's a question. What do you think will come first? The 10th anniversary of Sea of Thieves or Skull of Bones?
That's a pick 'em. That's a toss up.
Yeah. At this point, I don't know.
Ubisoft really needs to just cut their losses on this game and call it a day. Because, it might be something I pick up. If it ever gets released, it might be something I pick up out of morbid curiosity, but it won't be until it's on Game Pass or if it's on Games with Gold or it's in like a $2 bargain bin.
Oh, you know where it's going.
Yeah.
Their brand new Ubisoft Plus tier.
Right.
And I'm not bothering with.
No, yeah. I'm not going to pay for your crap when Game Pass can just buy you and put it out there for the same price.
And look, you're everybody's 10 years too late because you're either getting PS Plus, you're getting Games with Gold, or Game Pass, whatever you want to call it, or you're on Steam.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit about EA Play. Nobody gives a shit about EA Play. Nobody gives so little of a shit about EA Play. EA Play had to do a deal with Xbox.
Yeah. Hey, the only reason I even pay for EA Play is for tournament consoles. So we have access, to games, and
that's just a niche thing.
Yeah. Right. It gets covered in the cost. Like I'm not paying it out of my own pocket because I'm downloading all these games for PlayStation. I mean, I play most of my sports games on Xbox at this point anyway, because EA Play is free with Game Pass.
I have no idea what Ubisoft's going with the game. That game is just mind-bogglingly the development.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're sitting here. Jedi Survivor is going to be that one big game that we get into to end the spring, going into summer. Hold on. I'm not done. I'm not done. I know where you're going. Let me finish. My God. You're like a codependent ex-girlfriend who doesn't let me finish my sentence.
I'm just saying,
Yes.
I'm not doing anything to dissuade that, Chad.
The next Zelda game is coming out for those who have a Switch, and yes,
it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge.
It is. I know. I've got to rebuy
especially on the heels of Super Mario Brothers the movie.
Exactly.
Which has made nearly $800 million in 12 days.
I think I have it up in the background.
And it's ridiculous. Okay, so this is how badly it's outpacing Frozen. Okay, let me put this up. So there's a wonderful website that I use called The Numbers. Okay, so we can compare the domestic box office right now after 15 days is $371 million. Now, the best-selling animated movie of all time is Frozen 2. Do you know when they passed $371 million? Day 27. 12 days after Super Mario Brothers. And let's not forget that this movie hasn't opened in Japan or Korea yet.
Holy shit, I didn't even realize that.
No, it doesn't open until Japan or Korea until next weekend.
Hey,
oh my God.
What? Hey, we have the golden opportunity, nerds. Let's keep seeing this movie until it fucking surpasses Avatar: Way of Water. Let's do it. We can do it.
Well, I tell you what, Demon Souls did 500 million alone in Japan. If Super Mario does 500 million alone, I guarantee you this movie passes $2 billion. Yeah, because it was already tracking towards, Top Gun level 1.4, 1.5 billion without Japan and Korea.
I am just saying.
If it does 500 million in Japan, it'll do 250 in Korea, and you're looking at two and a quarter billion.
Yep. This makes me want to do. I got to share this story in connection with everything. So, when I camped out with friends to get tickets to episode 1. We were the ones who brought the beer, and it was a lot more fun camping out than the movie, obviously. But I was always these high school kids, and of course their mom made them to T-shirts. Was absolutely hilarious, and had the logo of episode 1 on the front, and on the back they were the Titanic wrecking crew. They were going to see the movie so many times that it was going to gross more than Titanic. And you know what? I admit that I saw the movie like 5 times in the theater, and I would run into at least one of the Titanic wrecking crew like every week, on their way to do it. So I'm saying 24 years later, I should make a t-shirt. Super Mario, Avatar Way of Water Wrecking Crew. Because I still don't understand how the Way of Water made so much money.
I don't understand about anything.
Not even a good movie.
Folks, when we say we don't understand Avatar, we understand what it is. We understand it's a very simple storyline. It's very pretty pixels. And we understand how it could be successful. What we don't understand is how they are 2 of the top 5 most successful movies of all time. Granted, not adjusted for inflation, because adjusted for inflation, Gone with the Wind still drags its Johnson across everybody's face. But that's just the way, and it's going to be like that forever. So, and by the way, if you lose me right now, there is a big thunderstorm over my apartment. So, if all of a sudden,
hey, if we lose us, we're pre-recording, so we'll deal with it. We'll rock and roll, and I'll cut this in post.
So,
but yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize it had made that much money. But yeah, that's awesome. So let's do it. But anyway, as I was saying, of course, we're going to have a good lull in the summer to go back and play other games and revisit stuff. Because, unless you buy the new Madden every year or whatever, which, I mean, one of us does, so we can at least review it. The only thing you really, out of like new games, unless you're just a hardcore MLB player where you play out the season, the next big game is going to be Starfield, September 6th. So
yeah, it looks like Arcane's kind of dropping the ball with Redfall. We'll see how it comes out, but
I'm not throwing Redfall in there. It looks fun, but it's a Game Pass game, day one Game Pass game. So I can't wait to do multiplayer, with friends, and stuff. And I know for the hardcore Diablo fans, I know Diablo 4 is going to be fun. But I also think that's kind of a niche group. Not everybody jumps to that type of game. So
Dead Island 2 sure is building an awful lot of buzz. Which I find kind of surprising.
I don't know. At this point, I'm just kind of like, I
don't know, man.
More about zombies.
I think you might be. I was kind of a little taken aback by your thought on Diablo there, because I think you're underestimating how popular that is.
I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying compared to all-around gaming that everybody jumps into, I don't.
I'm telling you that Diablo 3 still to this day is the fastest selling PC game to date and sold 30 million copies.
Okay, well, I could be wrong.
Yeah,
we'll look at the numbers and see. I think Jedi Survivor will sell more, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So anyway, but neither here or there. Moving right along. So we have 2 things for this week's Side of the Apocalypse. The first thing, and yes, you can make an argument that this is a good thing or whatever, but we threw it in this week's Side of the Apocalypse because it's just kind of funny at this point. But HBO Max, and now that they're starting to complete their merger and they're going to just be Max. And by the way, I'm sorry, if you're just going to be Max, I'm going to segue here. I think you should have an intro where you are Jinx from Space Camp saying the name of your company. That's just me.
Personally, I'm shocked they didn't go with HBO, because the brand recognition of HBO goes back 40 years. And what is Max known for? Skinamax.
Exactly.
I mean,
is this where I get my softcore porn that they somehow throw a story in there that is supposed
nobody asked for or wanted?
Yeah.
It's like Tom Tran, one of my favorite military comics. He's got a bit. He goes, I got big into Southern music. I went to a Leonard Skinner show, and they're like, "You guys ready to rock?" And we're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Do you want to hear something from our new album?" We're like, "No."
Yeah.
Because new rock from Leonard Skinner, it's like a plot line in a porno, unnecessary and not why I'm here. You play Freebird, we'll rub one out and call it a night. Thanks very much.
So like at one point they say, "Are y'all ready for some Leonard Skinner classics?" I'm like, "Isn't that the only shit you have?"
Right. But
like half the original band's dead. Why are you?
No shit. Yeah.
But anyway, they have announced that they will be rebooting the Harry Potter movies as a series on their new streaming service. So after 20 years, it's time to reboot, recast, and have a, I guess, proper storytelling of the books or whatever. I get it. We were talking about this before the show. Some people will be happy with this because they will be able to do more with the books that the movies couldn't do. But I honestly have to ask this question. In what fucking universe do you think that you're going to get anybody better to play Severus Snape than Alan Rickman?
Oh, they don't need to get anyone better, and they probably don't think they will. All they need to it's the streaming wars, baby. They need content.
Well, I'm okay with a 4K restoration of the movies.
Yeah, but
I mean,
that's not going to get you new subscribers. That's not going to get people to stay subscribed for a month or after.
You know what might get you new subscribers? Original content, because there's so many hundreds of years of storytelling within the Harry Potter universe that you could come up with original storytelling.
Oh, they're going to do that too.
Yeah,
dude, how many Game of Thrones series are in development at HBO right now?
No, I get that, but I'm just like, why are we rebooting movies when you have so much? Again, if Hogwarts Legacy proved anything, okay, that era, there's more behind this story of this ancient magic leading up to the story surrounding the game. Develop characters around that time period.
I'm sure they will.
Didn't we kind of do that already with Fantastic Beasts, and look how that ended up?
Well, what was so bad about those movies? I like them.
I'm just saying. I mean, look how quickly they put a bullet in that thing.
Well, that didn't help them. They didn't help themselves when they, ran at the first sign of, oh my God, there was an accusation against Johnny Depp. Everybody has to fire him now. Oh, turns out Johnny was the one who's abused. Oops.
Yeah. It turns out that Amber Heard really is fucking crazy. She's hot, but again, let me explain the crazy hot scale from Barney on How I Met Your Mother.
And she
hot, crazy.
She does give a shit. The problem is it's on your bed.
Yes, she does. She doesn't give a shit. She drops a deuce.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go there, but here we are.
And there it is, or was.
But anyway, I'm just saying that you have so many opportunities to tell really great stories within the Harry Potter universe. And for those that don't like J.K. Rowling anymore, you don't even have to involve her. But
they're actually going to, but because they don't care. And Hogwarts Legacy showed them that. They're like, yeah, okay, so there will be people that whine about it, and it will go on and make $1 billion anyway, so we don't care.
Yeah.
And then the other reason they're doing it is because I don't know if you know this or not, but AT&T ran HBO into the ground, and they have ungodly, or Warner Brothers altogether, not just HBO, but AT&T ran Warner Brothers into the ground. They were basically an absentee landlord and just let the kids do whatever they wanted at Warner Brothers. And the amount of debt that company has is ridiculous. This is why they shit canned a almost fully completed $90 million Batgirl movie. They need easy wins.
Well, sure.
And Harry Potter's a layup.
Yep.
Well,
especially after the video game, and dude, that's why. And they will milk the hell out of all the other things that you think.
But I'm just saying that original programming, will sell better. But hey, whatever. I still say
it takes time to develop that too.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. How many seasons now are we going to be getting of The Last of Us that they're going to try to milk that for all it's worth? I mean, they're obviously going to be splitting the game part 2 into at least 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. So I'm fine with all the original content of Game of Thrones because there's so much history that you can go back and do with that. And, they've proven that even though you kind of know what's going to happen, you can still have really great storytelling and a lot of buildup, and do it right instead of trying to cram so much storytelling into the last 2 seasons. So, all right. But besides that, we have an even better this week's Side of the Apocalypse. As if it can't get any worse for Amazon and Rings of Power just being bad and terrible writers. There was a lawsuit that came out this week where the story that they had is closely aligned to some fan fiction that was copyrighted and sold on Amazon. I know, let the irony play out here.
Yeah, everybody said it was bad fan fiction from the get-go.
Right.
And, it really was.
It literally, they ripped off Lord of the Rings fan fiction. And now they're
and this is, by the way, this is in our last episode, we talked about all the wonderful things that happened on the set, like the fire, like the horse dying, like, you know, like the Hollywood Reporter article that came out and basically said that Amazon is a shit show when it comes to being a TV and movie studio. So yeah, stellar month, Amazon. Well done.
Hey, by the way, can we? You might need to speed up that release date of Reacher season 2 and Bosch Legacy. Two things we know do work.
Actually don't suck.
Yeah.
By the way, you've got this little property called Stargate, and you got a dude by the name of Brad Wright at Brad Travelers on Twitter, who is the original showrunner of Stargate SG-1, who really wants to do another Stargate show, and he wants to do a continuation, and all of the original actors are all in on this. Hey, what recently just did a show that was sci-fi and it had all the original actors and it was really well received? Have you been paying attention, Amazon?
Obviously not.
Star Trek?
It's like, gee, there's nothing applicable there, is there?
Yeah. It's just like, God damn, Amazon, cut your losses. Okay, you screwed up when you didn't want to do Game of Thrones to begin with, and you picked the wrong property to do. You didn't even have the rights to everything, but let's do it anyway. And then you rip off fan fiction. I mean, that is just as bad as E.L. Henry, who wrote 50 Shades of Grey, becoming popular, writing a book series after she got her start doing Twilight fan fiction. Not even good fan fiction. Twilight fan fiction, but because she threw a little sex into similar stories, which, by the way, for all of you people out there that like a little erotica and a little sadism and stuff, there's much better erotic authors out there that you don't know about, okay, that you could have gotten your fill that are much better than her. Also, their books are edited a lot better, but it's just
okay. So all you need to know is that the only credits J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay have in Hollywood is that they were uncredited writers on Star Trek Beyond. They've been in Hollywood for a decade, folks. Their only credits is uncredited. So they don't actually have any credits. Amazon literally handed $1 billion to two guys who have never run anything in their lives. How do I get that gig?
I've already created kind of a fantasy world. My friends can come along. We've got this. Just write us a check.
And here's the other thing we need to do. All right, you know, I'm all in on getting Super Mario Brothers to take on Avatar: Way of Water. I'm all in on that.
Sure.
But if I'm all in on your crusade, Marcus, I need you all in on my crusade. We have to stop J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay from making their Flash Gordon movie.
Yes.
I didn't even know that was a
yes.
I didn't know that was
development.
A thing.
Hey, look on ID. I'm staring at it right now on IMDb. Upcoming Flash Gordon in development.
So we you know, one of the best scenes of Deadpool 2, and this was one of those times where Brendan fell out of his seat again, laughing so hard at Deadpool 2. But it was the flashback scene where he goes back in time and shoots Ron Reynolds reading the Green Lantern script.
Yeah.
We laughed that's funny, but it's also kind of true. And I feel like there needs to be something similar to whoever greenlit these idiots to take on a property like that.
We just need Aragorn to come in behind them, like Viggo Mortensen with the sword, just take their head off.
Right.
Like they did to the Uruk in Fellowship of the Ring.
Right. What do we say to the god? Oh my! Anyway,
what do we say to Amazon? Not today.
just have Gimli lean over to Legolas. Toss me.
Oh my God! It's just, and I was talking with my best friend that I grew up with, Clint, this morning because we were geeking out at the season finale of Picard season 3, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. But literally, if you're going to take on a beloved nerd property, you've got to pass a nerd test or go before a tribunal or something that, show you have to prove your knowledge. You have to prove you understand storytelling and that you're going to, pay attention to the lore and not make up bullshit and whatever before you ever get allowed to write for a property like that.
And honestly, it doesn't take much. Like, all you had to, like, one of the things I hear from people who love the sequel trilogy and the reason why, the big three were never well, it wasn't about that. Okay, but the original trilogy wasn't about Obi-Wan Kenobi, but he was still treated with reverence and respect. Like the character wasn't just a throwaway. So, you could have still had them pass the torch, and you could have just paid a little respect to the fans and the characters who have kept this franchise going for 45 years, but you didn't. And it's kind of still blowing up in your face because now you've got like 14 movies announced and none of them are in production. So, like, it doesn't take much. It just takes a little, like, you don't even have to be a super nerd to make good nerd products. You just have to be a good storyteller and a good filmmaker and do a modicum of research to say, okay, what's important to the fans? What do they like? And how do we craft a story around that?
I'm at the point now that I think the best Star Wars movie that they're going to make under Kathleen Kennedy going forward is the video footage of Star Wars Celebration, of them just announcing that they're going to do something and rolling out people talking about future projects.
That's
what it is.
I think my favorite will be clips of her telling IGN that the Kevin Feige movie never really existed, interspersed with Alan Horn, her boss at Disney, announcing said movie. And beyond that, Michael Waldron, the writer of the movie, talking to Variety about how he's already in depth on writing the script for Feige. Yeah, she straight up lied to everybody at IGN, and like even Matthew Boloney from Puck. For folks who don't know, Puck is a entertainment magazine. They're one of the Hollywood trades. Matthew Boloney founded it. He's the former editor-in-chief of the Hollywood Reporter. The dude, he's as connected as anybody in Hollywood, and he has been on the anti-Kathleen Kennedy train for about 2 years now, just calling her the worst studio head in Hollywood, the most inept studio head in Hollywood.
Yeah, because she is. But, for any excuse that, you really can't do anything with your legacy characters and, have a proper send off and connect them to the next generation, I just want to point out something. I'm going to share a screen here real quick. Anybody see that?
Nope. Yep.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Yeah. Yes, this can be done. It absolutely fucking can be done.
I was just going to say, do or do not. There is no try.
Yeah. What? And by the way, as I talk about I won't spoil anything, but as I talk about the season finale of Picard season 3, Kathleen Kennedy, this is what we wanted with Star Wars. We wanted the legacy characters on a legacy ship like the Millennium Falcon. And somehow you couldn't do that and whatever, and made excuses on why you couldn't do that. Yes,
well, we got two of them,
and I'm not. Yeah, that's kind of funny. I mean, that's kind of fun. But if you can't get your original crew back together on the legacy ship, or you think you can't, somebody just proved you wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you right now, when they, the little spoiler for those who haven't seen it, Geordi has got pieces back from Trillian, at the end of Generations when the Enterprise D, blew up or it wrecked, and he's been piecing it together for 20 years because he runs the museum. And it's the one ship that's not connected to the system. It's all analog. So it's basically like, the Battlestar and Battlestar Galactica. That's why they can't be defeated. And it's the one ship that can save the day against the new enemy in Picard season 3. But the moment you get the original cast on the Enterprise D and they're looking around, if you're a fan and you're not getting emotional at it, and then you start to realize, especially as a Star Wars fan, why couldn't Kathleen Kennedy do that with the legacy character? It's like, because it could be done. You just didn't want to, and you wanted to shit on fans.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But as I said, I mean, it could always be worse. You could literally rip off your shitty series. The writing of your shitty series could rip off fan fiction, and now you're in a lawsuit.
And speaking of original trilogy and Lord of the Rings, if there's one thing that Warner Brothers and David Zaslav is doing right now that has to be pissing off Amazon is they got on the phone to Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh and Philippa Jackson and said, "Hey, y'all want to make some more movies? Because we've learned our lesson. We'll give you a pile of cash and stay the fuck out of the way."
Right. Can you come in and do this right?
We need you to make a crap ton of money because we're trying to spin this off to Apple.
Right. So in case you're wondering why they're going to Peter Jackson, that's the equivalent of Star Wars people going to Dave Filoni, Favreau, and be like, "Can you actually do this right?" Because Kathleen.
Well, yeah, I guess it would. That's a better analogy because it would be like going to JRR if you went to George. So,
right.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, stick with the people that know how to do it right. That's the lesson here. Okay. Real quick, because this is all about Star Wars. I do. Quick editorial about season 3 of Picard. For all the fans out there that got turned off by Picard because you thought season 1 was mediocre, and I get your argument. It's good in its own way, but it's a 10-episode epilogue to Star Trek Nemesis. That's all it really is. It was fun and it was great to connect Data to his daughter and have some nice moments and all that. But you only had one really, really fantastic episode where Picard has to go hide out with Riker and Deanna Troi and, their daughter. Season 2 was just kind of a shit show and all that. Somebody decided that we needed to actually go out with a bang with the final season of Picard and send the Next Generation off have a great send-off. And you know what they did? They brought back all of the legacy characters into one series with a great fucking plot that involved enemies that we're familiar with, that are always evolving and all that. Yes, they brought the Borg back there. I said it. They brought a clever way of bringing them back. They introduced the children of legacy characters, and they put them all on the one ship that we are familiar with that needed to save the day. It was brilliant. It was emotional. It's everything we love about Star Trek. It is about as perfect as you're going to get with a newer style of how you do Star Trek, in the Kurtzman universe. And they did it with, a writer who understood what Star Trek is, who basically gave a big fuck you to Kurtzman and all the other writers and said, "You know what? I've actually watched the show. I'm actually going to do this and do it, correctly. I'm going to show you what Star Trek fans really want. And I'm going to bring back the characters they love while introducing another generation. And I'm going to connect it to the Star Trek universe that you love without getting ridiculous with everything else and mirror universes that just don't really work out." And nothing against Michelle Yeoh, because she's awesome. She is one of the bright spots, of Discovery. But, with everything that we've been treated to since Enterprise ended, with J.J. Abrams trying to do Star Trek and a new timeline and blah, 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 and the god-awful season 2 of Picard, they finally gave us, again, what we all really wanted. And we just wanted a great send-off with these beloved characters. And the way that it ends with, a new crew for the Enterprise, a little bit of a spoiler, legacy characters, and the credits scene, giving way to a new generation with, again, a legacy character that we all love. Spoiler, it's Q. I'm sorry. It's not hard to write this. It's not hard to give us what we want. You don't need to get creative and all that. Go back and watch the formula that we've always had in Star Trek. Anytime they did a new show, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Next Generation, even Enterprise, they understood the formula that Gene Roddenberry was always going for. Good story arcs, but individual episodes, new species, and how a crew had to work together. And also while they were also dealing with their own problems. And then you always had that character that wasn't human, but was looking from the outside as the commentary. So I want to say this to Terry, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Metalis.
No, you got it right for once.
Yeah. Wow. Anyway, you did a phenomenal job. And if Paramount and CBS do one thing right, give this man his own series. Let him run with Star Trek. Don't let Kurtzman write, direct, do anything. Just, you can give him his fucking producer credit because you have to, whatever, but let this guy take over.
Oh, and yeah, and did you notice? Kurtzman had to ride his coattails there by releasing the Strange New World Season 2 trailer the day before Picard Season 3 dropped. It was like, come on, really? You couldn't just let people just have this? You had to ride coattails and
Hey, and I'm not saying I like Strange New Worlds. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's fun. And, they've got a good cast. I mean, not the guy playing Kirk, but that's a whole nother story. Ethan Peck is pretty amazing as Spock. Anson Mount is just fucking awesome as Captain Pike.
The helmsman kind of annoys the shit out of me, though, because she's very insubordinate. And I'm just like, that shit would not fly on the bridge of a warship. And people are like, oh, it's not a warship. Yeah, whatever.
I know. It's not perfect, but it's definitely better than Discovery. And I think that's kind of the point. And it gives us a really good update, but classy look to the original Enterprise.
Yeah, you can kind of shuffle your feet over that bar, though.
Yeah. Well, all I'm saying, season 3 of Picard, that's all we ever wanted. And it's not hard to do. So pay attention to that formula. And you set up what could be potentially a great new series with the next generation. So give us that and have the proper writers helming Star Trek. Oh, by the way, in case some of you don't know out there, if you're a Battlestar Galactica fan, you really love Ronald D. Moore, and you think he can write really good sci-fi. You know where he got his training? Being a fucking writer on Next Generation. And he wrote some of the best episodes. So there you go. All right, everybody. Enough Star Trek and everything else. It's time to get to Star Wars. Mandalorian Season 3, Disney, and all of its other bullshit problems. Brendan's going to lay down some numbers for you because we are numbers people. And what is the future of Disney, despite what they keep throwing out at Star Wars Celebration? Can we really be excited? I don't know. So, go ahead.
Well, I will say that so the three movies. Let's take a look at the three movies they announced real quick, right? So they announced a Rey movie set 15 years after the sequel trilogy, where she's going to rebuild the new Jedi Order. Great. So you just took a Luke story. So this already kind of pisses me off because we're taking Heir to the Empire and giving it to Ahsoka, and we're taking New Jedi Order and we're giving it to Rey. Have we not shit on Luke Skywalker enough? Okay,
Guess not.
apparently not. Um, so there's that. But a couple months back, there is a YouTuber I follow who audits himself on his when he reports on a rumor, and he comes out and he says, okay, he'll go back and look at it. Says I was right on this one, I was wrong on this one. He's 50 for 52 right now.
Jesus.
And one of the things that he put out, he has some excellent sources, and one of the things he put out months before Celebration was the Rey movie was going to happen. I heard it from him before anyone else. And the other thing that he said about it was, and hey, you can follow him on Twitter. It's at WDW Pro One, and he's on YouTube as well. One of the things he said was that not only was the Rey movie coming, but they were going to surround her with legacy characters to see, because they've got so much invested in the sequel trilogy, right? Beyond the three movies themselves, they've got two theme parks with Galaxy's Edge. They've got the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel. So they've got so much money wrapped up in this. This is like their one chance to see, okay, can we make this a viable property and move forward with it? Or do we have to cut and run? And so this really is the fish or cut bait kind of moment for the sequel trilogy. And they are going to surround her if he keeps knocking it out of the park with his predictions. They are going to surround her with R2D2, Chewbacca, Grogu, and a mystery character. I'm thinking the mystery character might be Omega from Bad Batch if Omega survives the Bad Batch, because the Bad Batch season 3 will be next year. So that'd be that's just my initial guess, because let's face it, they love moving characters from animation to live action. She would be about the right age, and let's face it, Kathleen Kennedy loves her women. So another girl boss is right up Kathleen Kennedy's alley. So I really think
I'm not making any jokes with that statement. There's no.
I'm just stating it as a fact. I'm not stating it as good or bad. Everybody already knows my feelings on the sequel trilogy. It has nothing to do with Daisy Ridley. It's everything to do with the two writers. But so I honestly believe this movie is going to. This is the first movie that's been announced that I really think is going to happen, because I think the push is coming as much from Disney as it is from Kathleen Kennedy, because they really want to test the waters and see, can we make the sequel trilogy characters viable? Is this something we can use going forward, or do we just have to scrap it and find something else? So I really think that's going to happen. I also think the Dave Filoni movie is going to happen. I don't think it's going to be a full theatrical release, though. I think it's going to be a limited theatrical release, and I think it will end up on Disney Plus very quickly. And then the last one that I don't think is going to happen, and I think it's a shame, because I think it's the most interesting of the three, and that's James Mangold's movie, which is going to be about the dawn of the Jedi, the very first Jedi from 25,000 years prior to the sequel trilogy. Now, the reason why I think that it's a shame that this won't happen is because Mangold has made some absolutely great films. He has worked on Logan. He's worked on 3:10 to Yuma, Ford versus Ferrari. He's done some really great stuff. So I think a Star Wars movie completely set away from the Skywalker timeline and on its own merits could be really, really good with him at the helm. The problem is he's also directing Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which also could probably be titled Indiana Jones and the Loan on Too Many Banks, because the absolutely astronomical price tag to make this movie means that it almost assuredly won't make money. Only one Indiana Jones movie has made $1 billion when adjusted. Well, none of them have made $1 billion, but only one has made it when adjusted for inflation, and that was The Last Crusade. And so I don't think this movie has to make $1 billion. And where I get that from is when you make movies in the UK, you have to be a lot more transparent with your budgets. So we know per Forbes that the production budget on the initial production of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny was 244.1 British pounds sterling. At the time it was being made, the exchange rate was roughly 1.4 US dollars to one GBP. That means you're looking at $342 million just in production. That doesn't include global prints and ads, which they're going to probably end up at least $150 million in marketing. And it doesn't include the reshoots that we know happened this spring because John Williams told us so. John Williams did a concert in Italy. He talked about how they're going to redo the ending and how they're going to rescore the ending, and he's got to go back into the studio to rescore it. And this got put up on the internet. People recorded him because it's 2023 and everybody's got a camera phone in their pocket. But so we know it's going to take, and you only get about half back from the box office. So if it's a 500 million plus all in, that means you got to make $1 billion at the box office just to break even. If this movie doesn't break even, it doesn't make money. There's no way James Mangold gets to make a Star Wars movie because he's going to have to fall on his sword for Kathleen Kennedy because she don't take the blame for anybody.
Well, I mean, we'll see what happens. I get the whole thing about the Rey movie. I mean, they've been talking about that for a while, and I get why they need to do it. And I'd like to see what happens because I don't think she's a terrible character. I just think, kind of like Natalie Portman in the prequels, subject to terrible writing and bad dialogue and stuff. So let's see what she can do.
I'm concerned about the choice of director just because it has a very Eternals type vibe to it, where they got a woman who specializes in smaller productions and documentaries, just like we had with Chloe Zhao and the Eternals. And now you're going to hand them $250,000 or $250 million to make a movie. That concerns me.
I don't rush judgment until I see it. The only thing is I'm not super excited for Star Wars movies in this day and age like we once were. Like I'm not excited to go watch in the theater as a staff. If there's a large theatrical release, it's just Disney has done too much damage under Kathleen Kennedy.
Oh, 100% agree.
Anything with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, I mean, we will be there and we want to do and support. I mean, we're clearly for that camp than like Kathleen Kennedy. And while the Acolyte looks interesting, I want them to get, to keep going back and tell more of the High Republic era or go back to the Old Republic and stuff. At the same time, you're always going to worry about it when she's at the helm, and the quality of writers that they get. And you hope that you get someone gets their break in the Star Wars universe that understands the universe, that understands proper storytelling. That, I mean, nothing against Rian Johnson. He's a brilliant filmmaker. He shouldn't have done Star Wars. He's not the right guy to turn everything on its head in his thing of storytelling, unless.
Yeah, I mean, just like, to bolster your point, there's a video out there from him when he's in his late 20s, early 30s, talking about how he'd much rather make a movie that divides the audience than unites the audience. That's the wrong guy for a Star Wars movie.
Well, if you're going into making a movie where you want people, talking about it, and he's done that. Brick is a phenomenal movie. Cameron Crowe took the same idea when he did Vanilla Sky with Tom Cruise, and he blatantly said,
and I'm not saying it can't work.
He blatantly said that the one thing he really wanted is he wanted people to come out of that theater questioning the movie, but still be talking about it, and they did. Okay, but there also isn't much replay value or not replay, but going rewatchable value to those kinds of movies. So experimenting, dividing your fans or whatever, that's great for a certain kind of film, not Star Wars. And so you're always going to be apprehensive. I mean, I'm not opposed to the director because, again, she could knock it out of the park, with her background in filmmaking and all that. But if you,
I didn't say it was impossible. I said it concerned me.
Well, I'm just elaborating on that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that if you're going to do it, understand the lore, understand where they're coming from, past and rewatch everything. If you don't get that and you're not willing to do the research within this universe to understand it, then you shouldn't be trying in the first place. And we've seen too many cases where studios give money to writers who don't do that. Rings of power. And you failed. So but it'll be interesting. When it comes to Celebration, I am very excited about Ahsoka. I want them to round out her story, get back to the Rebels characters. And I'm very glad that they're, doing Lars Mikkelsen as the live action.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been such a misstep if they had gotten anybody but him.
Oh God. And you know what? Ray Stevenson, but man, he looks awesome as a bad guy. So I'm like, I think at this point, with everything they've done, it's like you want to like it, you want to be excited, but we just can't. We're trepidatious about it.
Yeah, there's always instead of blind enthusiasm, it's now cautious optimism.
Yeah.
Very, very.
It's like, yeah, I'll dip my toe in, but I'm worried I'm gonna get bit.
Yeah, I mean, how bad are you going to screw this up? I'm honestly not so worried about Ahsoka because, this is Dave Filoni's baby. I mean, these are characters that he has created and been with since the beginning, and what they're going. I get your argument about the whole heir to the empire thing and how it's a big misstep of what you could have done with the Timothy Zahn books and your legacy characters, but at the same time, it looks like they've got a good cast. Mary Winston as the live action, Hera. I'm not upset about that at all. I think she'll do good, but
we'll see. That's actually I'm of all of the cast so far, I'm the least excited about her as Hera, and the reason why is just I don't know. There's just something. And by the way, we could see it, and she may do a great job, but the way it was shot in the trailer,
yeah,
just it. I know this is gonna sound weird. She didn't have the weight behind Hera.
She's kind of stale. I thought that too. But
it just she didn't have the gravitas that the voice actor for Hera brought to the role, and it felt. And this is probably gonna sound weird, but it felt light and flighty. And Hera is a very solid and grounded character.
Very grounded. Yeah, she's a very grounded character. I agree with
despite being a pilot.
I could kind of say the same thing. I mean, I love Rosario Dawson and her take on Ahsoka, and I want to see more of it because she's a phenomenal actress, from the live action version. But it is very different from constantly hearing Ashley Ecclestein's voice and the way they did the animation. It is different. But then again, in the trailer, the little lightsaber duel where she is doing the moves that you see, in the animated series of Rebels and Clone Wars, I'm like, okay, I'm there. I just feel like we have to see more. It's like you've got us, but you've screwed things up before, and let's see what happens. I'm tired of stuff dividing fans, though. This is such a beloved universe to the point that we should still be having fun in it. And it's just like they constantly can, forget about the fans by trying to be experimental or having characters that don't have a great character arc. I mean, it's like I don't disagree with you guys about what's her face from Kenobi. She was literally the worst character. I like the series more than you do, but I don't disagree about her character development.
That's like, about the the writing in the sequel trilogy. One of my favorite memes ever is the whole bit of Rey, which he's like, I bypassed whatever it was in the Falcon, and it's just like I bypassed the hero's journey.
Well, anyway, getting to season 3 of The Mandalorian. Um, okay. I'm just going to start off by saying that definitely not as good as season 2. I think it's been where they went overall with the story, the retaking of Mandalore and having him wrapped up in that that story. Phenomenal, great, yes. If you're a fan of all the Mandalorians, it's awesome that they did this. And the last episode absolutely delivers. But this season is definitely not as good as the previous two in the Lone Wolf, journey, and especially season 2 where he's trying to find a Jedi and he's meeting these characters, and you definitely don't get the weight of the final episode as you did in the last 4 minutes of the end of season 2 with Luke Skywalker showing up. I just personally feel like, as mediocre as it is, it took too long to get to the last 2 episodes. The 2 episodes that were great.
100%. Like the first 6 episodes just meandered. Every city in Dallas seems to have a meandering way.
Yeah.
And I think that's just it felt like Book of Boba Fett, man, for the first 6 episodes, where it was rudderless, directionless.
But here's my question. Does it feel that way because we watched it from week to week? Or, would we feel different if we binged watched everything, all in an afternoon?
I don't know, man, because I binge watched 1 through 5 a couple weeks ago, and it still didn't sit any better.
Okay.
I didn't watch episode 6 just because I watched the last 15 minutes of episode 6 because I had no interest in that weird planet. I just don't understand. It was just I couldn't sit and watch it. And I'm sorry, I want to say this. I love Jack Black and Tenacious D. I hate Jack Black as an actor because Jack Black as an actor is just Jack Black.
No, I disagree. Bernie.
I
Have you watched the movie Bernie?
No, but I every time I see Jack Black, I only see Jack Black. And I don't see the character. I just hear Jack Black. Even in what was it? The video game he did.
Brutal Legend.
Brutal Legend. I was so pissed because he got best voice actor that year over the likes of Mark Hamill and Nolan North and Claudia Black.
Nobody's arguing about the disparity of the awards. About
but it's just I this is just, and you can disagree. That's fine. Me personally, I can't see anything but Jack Black when Jack Black is on the screen.
And
I agree. I agree with Brendan.
But I think, by the way, his comedy, when he does skits and when he does Tenacious D, I think Tenacious D is phenomenal. I love Tenacious D. To me, that's where he shines.
Okay, but again, my question, Chad, have you seen the movie Bernie?
No.
Okay, let's take. Let me.
Even a broken watch is right twice a day, so there's that.
Watch that movie based on a true story here in East Texas. Watch his performance, then get back to me. Now, from a comedy standpoint, is there at least any comedy that he has done that you've enjoyed?
You're asking me this?
I'm asking both of you. I'm curious. Is there any comedy that you have somewhat enjoyed? Because I could literally name 2. He is fucking hysterical in High Fidelity. I love his character. And the other one, School of Rock.
Yeah, I neither of those movies really do anything for me.
Okay.
I've never seen any of them because anytime I see Jack Black's name associated with something, I avoid it like chlamydia. I'm the same way with Will Ferrell, and you know that. That's very well documented.
I'll put it this way: the only thing I liked with Jack Black is probably Kung Fu Panda.
Okay. See, but
and half of that is probably because just Dustin Hoffman playing the straight off of him.
Right, but to your point about Will Ferrell. I get the arguments against that where he's basically just playing the same funny character all the time. None of those are my favorite Will Ferrell movie. Stranger the Fiction is my favorite Will Ferrell movie.
That's actually the only Will Ferrell movie I like.
Yeah. brilliant cast, him just being the straight man, and everybody, and just the conversations with him and Dustin Hoffman as the professor, as they're going through all the tropes, in literature. It's brilliantly written. Also, he did another kind of writer-centric movie called Winter Passing with Ed Harris. Ed Harris played a very famous writer, had Zoe Deschanel in it, and Will Ferrell plays a character living in the house who is he has stage fright where he can't play and sing at the same time. And there's a really great scene in the movie where he records himself playing an Eagles song, but has the recorder and sings to. It's a very sweet movie. It's a very big departure.
How the hell did we get here anyway?
Anyway,
we are way too tangential here.
I'm making the case that there are things out there that make them better than doing the typical movies. The same thing with Adam Sandler. If you get past all the same comedies that he always did, he's actually made very wonderful movies. So anyway, but we'll get back to The Mandalorian. I totally understand that the rest of that, the first part of that movie was really kind of unnecessary just to get to the point of Christopher Lloyd did it. He's a bad guy.
And Christopher Lloyd name dropped Count Dooku for some reason.
I was fully expecting him to say, and I would have gotten away with it too if it hadn't been for you rotten kids.
You rotten Mandalorians.
Yeah, just scream that. I'm just like, why?
You
have Grogu go. Roo.
Yeah.
You almost expected.
That was the one episode that I had a big issue with, and it wasn't because of Lizzo, and it wasn't even because of Jack Black. Bane of my existence that man is because that thing felt so ham-fisted. I'm just like, it felt like filler. It felt like pure filler.
We just throw in something till we get to the good part. Yeah. You almost expected Bo-Katan just to walk up and pull his mask off.
Yes. It's like, man, stop!
It's like
you squandered.
They could have spent that. They could have spent that money going to bring in another Mandalorian faction.
Yeah.
Supposedly Kevin Kidd, I believe the actor's name is Kevin Kidd, who was Lucius Verus in Rome, right? Kevin McKidd.
McKidd.
Yeah, who's Lucius Verus in Rome.
He's Soap in Price in the Call of Duty.
He's also Fen Rao in the Clone Wars. One of the Mandalorians, one of the Concordia Dawn Protectors. He's the head of the Concordia Dawn Protectors, as a matter of fact. And the rumor is he has been cast in live action as Fen Rao.
Oh boy.
Okay, great. Why didn't we go to Concordia Dawn and get them? It's a moon. It's right there.
I'll make a comparison. For all the shit that was Picard season 2, everybody. I'm not the only one that's made the argument that you could have told that story in 3 or 4 episodes. It could have been a 3 or 4 episode story arc. It just took too long to get to the end. That's what this season was. You literally could have told this entire season or the first 6 episodes in 2 episodes and then gotten to the last 2.
But the thing is, I see such potential for stories that could have gone and filled up this entire season and had been a lot more engaging and a lot more interesting. You have all these different Mandalorian clans that were never told. We're talking about uniting the clans, right? This should have been a big uniting the clans itself should have been a big long quest, right? It should have been they should have done, okay, he should have freaking gotten to the living waters and got redeemed with Bo-Katan's help in the first episode. And then the second episode should have been, okay, you need to unite the clans. And then episodes 3, 4, 5, 6 should have been going to different Mandalorian factions and convincing them, getting the Concordia Dawn Protectors, going to Clan Ren, getting all these different disparate factions.
And then each one of those episodes could have been helping that clan deal with whatever problem they
had and bringing them back into the fold. It's almost like they didn't have enough money for the big fight at the end of the season to have that many Mandalorians on the screen.
And that is how we segue into the numbers. Disney. One final thought, and then we're going to talk about the numbers. I think for the Mandalorian, because obviously, it's winding down. They said they were going to do 4 seasons and whatnot. It's very hard to come down for how good season 2 was in the way it ended. I don't. The story of them reclaiming Mandalore again. That's a great way to do it for that particular season, and then go back to the Lone Wolf adventures. But if you're only going to do 8 episodes, you got to make them all count.
Yeah.
You don't. This isn't a 20 episode season on a regular channel where you can just have filler episodes. It's not Smallville where half of them can be Dawson's Creek bullshit episodes that you don't care about and will never go back and watch again. That's I think that's kind of the biggest tragedy is you squandered a lot of what you could have done. Maybe it's because of budget or you are doing other projects. I don't know.
Now, I think honestly, I think his presence at the last tail end of the Book of Boba Fett hurt his arc more than just about anything else.
Hurt Grogu's too.
Big time. I think that was a huge misstep. I think that was an absolute travesty, them shoehorning him into the Book of Boba Fett just because. It's almost like
if he had been there by myself, if he had been there by himself because Boba called him for help, then like okay, fine. But the fact that they went and got Grogu first, I mean, that was not a good call. And
honestly, and you know what? By the way,
that whole freaking emotional story.
You know what? That whole part could have literally been one of the episodes of season 3.
Exactly my point.
And
yes, exactly.
And here's another thing too. All right, so Grogu is about 52, 53 years old right now. Okay, in these latest episodes, he's going to be about 100 years old in the Rey movie. Okay, because that's about 50 years from where we are. If you remember, Yoda tells Luke that he's trained Jedi for 800 years, and he's not quite 900 years old in Empire Strikes Back. So that means Yoda was already training Jedi at 100 years old. So how does he go from a baby that can't talk to training Jedi by the time we get to Rey's movie? And Star Wars Theory had a really good idea. Well, we don't know shit about this race. What if they go into like their puberty is more like a cocoon or something, or
it's
like a chrysalis?
It's like Spock going through puberty in Star Trek.
I was thinking more like Delenn going through the chrysalis in Babylon 5, where she became a hybrid Minbari human.
Right.
To where that's kind of their puberty and they emerge an adult, or some type of stressful situation causes an unlock of a growth spurt or something,
right,
to where all of a sudden, because how much like the toys of Baby Grogu, we were talking about this in chat the other night, the toys of Baby Grogu are already starting to slow down sales wise, because look, okay, he's cute, but after a while your character's got to advance more than just being cute. And not only that, but did you notice that he seemed weaker after 2 years training with Luke in that battle against the Praetorian Guards than he was, remember season 1, when he's throwing stormtroopers from wall to wall and bouncing them off walls? He's now had 2 years, according to Jon Favreau, where he's trained with Luke Skywalker, and he was having trouble pulling, he was barely pulling weapons across.
Is that supposed to be the time jump?
Yeah, 2 years. 2 years he said he was with Luke Skywalker. That's what John.
I don't know because think about it. All he did was take a seat.
I understand what it seems like on the screen, but this came straight from Jon Favreau's mouth. You can look it up. It's out there. He said it was 2 years that he was with Luke Skywalker. So how is he less powerful now?
Yeah, I don't think he really is, because
because he didn't have
they
to take
portrayed
a nap
it that way though.
Yeah, because remember the last couple times he's used his power, he freaking passes out. Here he just kind of, I'm
okay.
done.
I mean, I guess you guys are seeing something I'm not, but sure.
But think about it. Put it this way: if you're bouncing stormtroopers from wall to wall, and then you go train with Luke for 2 years,
I understand your argument. I'm just not seeing that he's less powerful.
Okay, but why couldn't you?
Brendan, I'm not seeing it. I'm just not. So I get your argument. I see the logic behind it. But to me, being less powerful wouldn't be being able to create a force bubble around him.
Yeah, he grooted their asses and saved them from getting
Well, he
incinerated.
he Kanan their asses because that's
Yeah.
literally what Kanan Jarrus did
in Rebels. Yeah, true.
I mean, regardless, I didn't realize the 2 years thing. So
It's just weird the inconsistency with how they play his powers.
okay.
And I just don't understand it. And it to me, there has to be some type of character growth here because I mean, can we get him something other than a potato sack to wear at least? He's been wearing a potato sack for 50 years.
Good point.
I do love more jumping around and all that, and I hope that we do get to see him with a lightsaber at some point. We will see.
And that was my other one. I said I had a gripe about the last episode. And anybody flash back to Luke throwing the lightsaber off of a cliff when they smashed the dark saber?
You mean okay?
You mean at the end of Last Jedi?
No, at the end. No, at the end, when Gideon crushed the lightsaber in Bo-Katan's hand.
Yeah,
the dark saber.
right.
It was just to me it was just a flashback to Luke throwing it over. It's like
At the beginning of Rise of Skywalker. Yeah.
Or at the beginning of Last Jedi.
Or beginning of Last Jedi. Yeah.
What are
And
you
it's just-
because it doesn't matter?
Well, yeah, and I mean, this has been a part of Mandalorian culture.
The centerpiece of
it.
a central plot device, and it's just like, okay, well, that's gone.
It's I don't understand just like tossing it aside. Like if you're gonna move past it, that's one thing. Like, all right, okay, fine. But just to have it crushed and thrown away like it never mattered, it's just like I don't know. It felt off to me. It felt weird. I didn't like it.
I kind of looked at it as you don't need the Darksaber to be the leader of the Mandalorians, and while it was your sole purpose to reclaim this because you needed it to unite the clans, it's not necessary at this point. I guess from a writer's standpoint, it was her quest to do that to unite the clans when they didn't have Mandalore because it was a symbol. But now that they had reclaimed Mandalore, it's not as important. I don't care either way.
I just think it's even less important to actually destroy it to prove a point that you've already made.
Yeah, that seems to be a tradition of theirs, though. Like they never seem to know what to do with their MacGuffins once they've, I guess, played out their part. I mean, like the Lost Ark gets shoved in a freaking
but maybe that's something about Mandalorian culture, whatever, that you can rebuild it or make another one or whatever, or maybe there's a ceremonial Darksaber that will get made now that they have reclaimed Mandalore and she's the leader again. I don't know. I don't think it's as important.
Like I said, I didn't say it's a huge gripe. I just said it felt off.
Yeah.
And it interrupted from an otherwise very enjoyable evening watching a show.
Okay, I guess
I had the same reaction. I'm like, wow, okay, I guess we're done with the Darksaber then.
Yeah, it pulled me out of the episode. It really did.
Like, wow, that was kind of shocking.
all right. It didn't bother me one bit because I knew where they were going.
I understand where they're going. I just, like I said, I think it's why prove a point that you've already made? You know, it's like we've already seen they've already come back together. They've already taken Mandalore. Now, you know, and
you know what?
It kind of felt like the Good Witch of the Wizard of Oz moment of like, you had the power within
Brendan,
you all along.
I got an idea for you. I think you need to do Star Wars fan fiction that they can rip off.
no,
Not worth the effort.
no,
Not worth the effort.
Because you know what? I'm not like this other guy who's going to sue because I don't have the effort and the money to deal with a company like Lucasfilm and Disney. And number two, even if I could create something worthy of actually being ripped off, I don't want Kathleen Kennedy's name on it anywhere.
Fair enough. Yeah, that guy's not going to win, but he'll get a nice settlement. That's and maybe like an like an associate producer credit or something.
Yeah.
I will say this. I'm going to miss Moff Gideon because Giancarlo Esposito makes a great villain. And that
You're
is,
assuming he's dead.
He ain't dead. He ain't dead.
mean,
There's a clone.
They
stashed
throw away
somewhere.
objects a lot faster than they throw away characters.
Yeah. I don't
Okay,
believe for a second we're done.
Okay,
yet.
so now I'm going to finish my statement before everybody jumps on me. I'm going to miss him if he really is dead. But setting up the whole thing about the clones, I think you are foreshadowing. And you're obviously foreshadowing the technology that will make Snoke.
Mhm.
I hope he is not gone because he is such a great villain and I love him as an actor. And he is one of the strongest things in the Mandalorian series. And
I think he's also way underutilized.
I agree. I do not disagree on that.
But I actually, if you're going to kill him, I hope he is dead because we have too much. Like I called Darth Maul the moment I walked out of the theater in Episode 1 because it just was too reminiscent of when Luke fell down the tube in Bespin, and I was just like, that's foreshadowing, boys or girls. And it just seems like there's very like and okay, there's a lot of debate right now whether or not Tech's actually dead from the end of Bad Batch season 2. I really hope he is. Not because I dislike the character. I actually like the character quite a bit. It's just because I want certain death to have actual weight and meaning, not the Ray accidentally killed Chewbacca with force lightning. Oh no, he was in this shuttle instead. Ha ha.
Bait and switch. Bait and switch.
You mean you don't want them to come back as Gandalf the White?
Chewbacca the Gray. Yeah.
No, I don't disagree with that. I think death should have weight on your characters that affect their emotional journey. Absolutely. And bringing them back just
cheapens it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing about why is Snoke such a great villain if all you're going to do is have Kylo Ren or Ben Solo kill him in The Last Jedi and then take over. It means that his character, his character wasn't important because it was really Palpatine all along. No, you fucking
y'all made that shit up on the fly.
On the fly, like
yeah, man. It's like I love. There's an interview. We've talked about this before, but I'll be quick. There's an interview that Daisy Ridley did with James Corbin, and she talks about how there was no plan. About how in the first movie she was going to be a Kenobi, and they even drop hints to that in the movie.
Yeah.
And then in the second movie, she's nobody because JJ said, "Well, everybody can be a hero." Okay, but Ryan, it's called the Skywalker Saga, number one, and number two, nobody's saying anybody can't be a hero. Wedge Antilles blew up 2 Death Stars. So okay, but so now we've got that. So she's gone from Kenobi to a nobody. Then he comes up and then he goes, so she goes, then JJ comes in and says, well, you're going to be Palpatine's granddaughter. And she goes, okay, cool. And then they say, well, no, we're not sure if we're going to do that yet. It wasn't until halfway through filming Rise of Skywalker that they finally decided that, yes, that's what they're going to do. So her official name in my Star Wars canon, my head canon, is Rey Kenobi, nobody, Palpatine Skywalker.
This is why you make an outline to build your lore. You know exactly where you're going. And and I will give a shout out to our gaming editor Omri. We were gaming over the weekend, and he was just giving me a hard time about fantasy because I was complaining about the D&D movie and lazy storytelling and blah blah blah. And we disagreed about how good that movie is. And he kind of called me out on my first fantasy book. Is like, well, you've kind of written yourself into the plot holes. I'm like, no, I've written the first book to set up these characters. That's why the second book is so much more important. And that's why it's taking so long to figure out where I really want to go with it. That's going to set up the end of the trilogy and lore for this fantasy world. That's why I'm making notes and an outline and coming up with characters and You have to do that. It's the world building that is so much more important than the actual storytelling. And that's what a lot of writers forget. You can't just completely change things on the fly or completely change it around without trying to establish it first. That's why they failed. And again, it's just lazy writing. So that's just my way of just saying, take your time, outline, know exactly where you're going. Oh, and by the way, you know why storyboarding is so fucking important in filmmaking and writing? Because you're making an outline and knowing exactly the direction of your story. Then also have good friends that know what you're doing and you can talk about lore with. And that's what I do with you guys. It's what I do with our buddy James. If I feel like, am I stuck? Does this sound good? Is this working? And when you're playing D&D and your DM is building lore, and sometimes it doesn't work when you're playing it out, you can discuss it as a group of what would be cool moving forward so that your story isn't lame. You know, also, there's these things called writer workshops. And I feel like most of these people that are getting checks to write big shows have never been through one of these. And you kind of take, ideas that people give you and like, that's good. I didn't think about that, blah, 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 that thing. Right.
Yeah, it would have helped a lot if she wasn't hiring and firing people at a record pace back then too.
Well,
Like if you had picked 3 directors and said, okay, you're gonna do 7, you're gonna do 8, you're gonna do 9. We're gonna film them all concurrently so we can get them out and make a lot of money. But we're gonna take 2 years and we're gonna sit there and we're gonna come together with a cohesive story. And you know what your part is, and you know what your part is, and you know your part is, and you know how everybody works together, and they're all, maybe those guys aren't on the set, but they're working on their other projects while they're waiting their turn to film their movie, but they're still in communication via email, via Skype, via whatever. And now you have a much more cohesive story that you can tell.
Well, George Lucas had different screenwriters for the original trilogy, but they were all going off his story treatments and the overall what they wanted to do.
And they stuck to the Bible. They stuck to the fucking Bible.
Well, and not only that, they also took 3 years between each movie to do it.
True.
It's
true.
And he also had good people that could tell him when something is not working. And this is what needs to be changed.
He also had fantastic editors.
Yeah, namely his wife.
Saved those movies.
His ex-wife, really, but yeah.
There really should be a documentary just about film editors and how important they are, and just of all the films that have been saved through editing.
Watch Icons because they talk almost exclusively to Marcia.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire series. And that there's a lot there.
Well, she was the one that saved Jaws too, right?
No, that was Edith.
Okay. Because them talking about the editing of Jaws after all the problems, that's one of the most brilliant part about how they put that movie together.
She definitely saved Return of the Jedi, though.
Yeah. Okay. Brendan, we're going to go over numbers real quick. Disney has lost how much money over the last few years?
Well, so they haven't. When we get into numbers like this, they haven't lost money. Disney has returned, like Disney, the entire corporate entity has returned a
Star
profit.
Wars. Let me break it down and be more
okay. So let me put it this way: Disney Plus has lost $12 billion since its inception.
Wow.
And there's a reason why that's happening. And now Disney will come out and say that a movie like Thor: Love and Thunder did not lose money, when we know unequivocally that at the box office, yes, it did lose money. It's a simple math. What they're saying, though, is, well, we sold it to a streaming service and that squared the books. But the streaming service they sold it to is Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So they took money out of the left pocket and put it into the right pocket and said, see, we made money.
Yay!
So and like they're not the only ones that do this, but they've lost $12 billion on Disney Plus doing this, despite having 160 million subscribers. So, that's one of the many reasons it's lost money. It's not the only reason. They have also lost a shit ton of market cap. And when we're talking about market cap, we're talking about the total amount of shares that are issued by a company times its stock price. And that'll give you its market cap. they've lost about I think 100. Well, they've lost half of their market cap in a year, because they were trading around $200 a share about year to a year and a half ago, and Disney's current stock price is dun 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 $98.07, down 68 cents today, by the way. So yeah, down 0.69%. Nice. Anyway, so yeah, so their market cap is 179.15 billion. About a year ago, their market cap was 380 billion. So that pisses off investors because when you have, high stock price, you're doing well. They haven't paid a dividend since before COVID. I think they're finally going to start paying dividends again this summer, although it's going to be much smaller than it was previously. So yeah, so there is a lot of things going wrong with them or for them right now. Thankfully for them, they're such a large company that they can eat those losses because they're making so much from their theme parks and their other ancillary businesses. Now, how much Star Wars has lost? We can't, there's no way to know because we don't have those books. But if you figure in just the amount of money that they've spent on projects that they have gotten out there, like for example, they spent 4 billion to buy the Lucasfilm, right? And then they spent another like billion and a half to make the 5 movies that they've made. That's about a wash, really, based on what they earned from those 5 movies.
Right.
Now your revenue from the toy streams just dried up during the sequel trilogy. I mean, you can still find piles of Kylo Ren, Rey toys. You go to discount toy stores and they're all piled up there. It's kind of sad actually to see an entire mountain of Rose Tico toys just sitting there, that nobody ever bought, and you could buy for like $2 an action figure now. So they're not doing well on toys. And then you look at the Nielsen streaming ratings, which have not been good. Like, for example, Mandalorian season 2 premiere did 1.1 billion watch minutes. Now, when you talk about watch minutes on Nielsen, they are measuring Monday through Sunday, and they are measuring the entirety of the show. So when season 2 episode 1 dropped, you had 9 episodes, and it dropped on a Wednesday. So you had or excuse me, dropped on a Friday, season 2 episode 1. So you had basically 72 hours. You had 72 hours worth of time to accumulate watch minutes off of 9 episodes, and it accumulated 1.1 billion minutes. Season 3 episode 1 had 17 episodes to work with, released on a Wednesday, so an additional 48 hours to work with. And more importantly, Disney Plus had added 40 million subscribers. They went from about 120 million subscribers when season 2 launched to 160 million subscribers when season 3 launched. And they dropped about 20%, almost 25% in their watch minutes to about 830 million. And it stayed right around 850 for the second one. It did bump up to 1.1 billion for the third episode, but they just released the numbers for the fourth week, and it ain't good, folks. It dropped all the way down to like 725 million watch minutes, which they should be doing a lot more than that. To the point, I don't even think it made it on the top 10 of everything. So Nielsen streaming ratings, they'll have like the top 10 original, top 10 acquired, and top 10 overall. It is so on the overall. It did make fifth on the overall. It was a 795 this week. So it was fifth overall and third on the original. But it absolutely got crushed by Netflix's The Night Agent. This will tell you how big Netflix still beats everybody. The Night Agent has 10 episodes and it had 2.6 billion watch minutes. So they're getting crushed on Disney Plus, on the streaming wars. Andor, despite being excellent, despite everybody thinking it was very good, he did even worse than Mando season 3. So it's not trending good for Star Wars right now.
In comparison to like HBO Max and all that, and the amount of money that they have kind of lost, no other streaming service has really lost that amount of money compared
Not
to,
that we know of.
not that we know of. So do you boil it down to the lack of quality writing or the fact that you feel like people might be burned out?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think the lack of quality writing has led to fan apathy. There are a lot of people, and apathy is so much worse than hate. Because after the sequel trilogy, there was people who love the sequel trilogy, and hey, cool for them. I'm not going to hate on anybody for liking something. If you like it, great. And then you've got the people that hated the sequel trilogy, but there was intense debate. And so anything that came next, people were going to watch because there was still that passion there, whether you loved or hated what came out recently. Apathy is a killer because if people just don't care, they're just not going to watch. And that really apathy killed Andor because Andor is well written. Andor is an excellent show. Now, it's not traditional Star Wars. I'll grant you that. It is not space opera. It is a John LeClaire novel set in Star Wars. 100% understand that. So that might have turned some fans off. But I don't think it turned off that many people. I just think people were, if it's not The Mandalorian, I think people are very
Well,
apathetic. And we'll see what happens in Ahsoka. Ahsoka will be a big test of that because Thrawn's a huge fan favorite.
well, 2 points. One, I think the timing of Andor after Obi-Wan and Book of Boba Fett, which caused debate.
Yeah.
I will use Obi-Wan as an example. I think you're about 50-50 with people who really enjoyed it to those who just didn't, it was average and just not very good because you did have lack of character development with who's supposed to be your big bad villain. So I get that. Book of Boba Fett, great to a point, but the fact that you had to shoehorn in, the Mandalorian to try to rescue it and also have a glorified episode with Luke and Grogu and all that doesn't bode well.
Yeah.
In comparison to the writing that we are used to, it's not as good. And again, the Obi-Wan, I think they needed to do something. Probably it should have gone back to doing 1 or 2 movies, seeing how they work, having that story. Because literally the Obi-Wan series, you literally could have boiled that down to a 2-hour movie and it would have been good. It would have been
The Obi-Wan script literally was a 2-hour movie. They took the old script, chopped it up, and made it into
I know, and that's what I'm saying. That story would have been better as a 2-hour movie and getting all the great fights and all that, and you wouldn't have had so much stuff wasted. And then you wouldn't have had to deal with this horrible story arc. What if Andor season 1 had been released right after season 1 of The Mandalorian? When people were high on, oh my God, they're doing really good programming. It's not as good, but you're also closer to, you're what, 3 years removed from Rogue One. So you're, or 3 or 4 years, so you're still kind of fresh with those characters. I think people would have appreciated it more. Having it come out after all the apathy of average storytelling, that's kind of what I feel like is killing Andor. And I don't know if season 2 can really rescue that because and I'm not disagreeing with your argument. It's just that the timing of what you're trying to release.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think Andor did suffer from all the delays. And I think the other thing too is I think another thing that's going to hurt Andor in season 2 is there is going to be a bit of a tonal shift because season 1 was 1 year. That was 5 ABY. Season 2 is going to switch to where every 3-episode arc is a year closer to Rogue One.
Right.
So that's gonna you're gonna have big shifts in the rebellion. You're gonna have so it'll be like watching a condensed version of Rebels,
Yeah.
where 3 or 4 episodes from each season is just one season.
Yeah.
So that could be that could hurt it as well. It
Here's
could also help it. Who knows? But you bring up Book of Boba Fett, and that I think that one hurts me the most because Book of Boba Fett, for the first 2 episodes, I was all about it. Like that dual storyline of one part Lawrence of Arabia, one part, The Godfather. I was all in on that.
Yeah.
And then it switched into the Mighty Morphin Vespa Rangers. And like, okay,
Speaking of tonal shift, yeah.
right, exactly. And the big, the bright neon colors, the bright, Vespas, they just felt so like, and a young cyberpunk band, like a young cyberpunk gang can absolutely work in Star Wars on Nar Shaddaa.
right, not Tatooine.
Not on the backwaters of Tatooine where they have no technology. It's kind of hard to be cyberpunk when there's nothing to be cyberpunk with.
You're almost like it's like that really great punk rock band living in Alabama that nobody has discovered yet.
Yeah, exactly. So, so then there's that. Then it became Mandalorian season 2.5 with gratuitous Luke Skywalker insert because, hey, it worked for Mando season 2. And then the last episode, they try to like cobble it all together into one big fight. And they're like, let me go get the Rancor. Really? The Rancor? You're fighting 2 droids. Why don't you go get Slave 1 and blow the crap out of it with blasters?
And granted, I'm not against Boba Fett riding a Rancor. I thought I love the fact that Danny Trejo was the Rancor.
Oh yeah, that was that was actually one cameo I did enjoy.
So
and made sense.
Somebody will eventually go back and re-edit all of this into proper, like they did the prequels into like one movie, and that'll be what people will watch in the future. It's timing is kind of everything about what you're going to release. And I get that it's about schedules and trying to get people together, get your stories and whatnot. But you're right about Ahsoka. That's going to be the ultimate test. I think Ahsoka is going to be good. I really do. I don't know. I worry that people won't appreciate it enough.
Yeah, Andor was good. Will it land? Is the real question.
So the other problem is, are we to the point with Star Wars where good isn't good enough?
Right.
Does it have to be exceptional? And if it has to be exceptional, that's a tough. That's a tough.
I feel like we got John Hammond in the back of our heads. Next time it'll be flawless.
Yeah,
but it's still a flea circus. It's all an illusion.
Yeah.
Are you literally quoting Mad Men in our nerd?
No, he's quoting Jurassic Park.
Oh God,
John Hammond.
No, you said Hammond. I thought you said John Hamm, and I'm like,
no.
Okay, never mind. I didn't hear the last part. Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, John. But when the Pirates of the Caribbean break down, the pirates don't eat the guests.
Hey, talk about another franchise that ended on kind of a high note by bringing legacy characters together with the new characters. I'm not saying the last movie was all that great, but the fact that
it was horrible.
I don't want to say it was horrible.
It was horrible.
It's not as bad as Jurassic Park 2.
I don't know about that. At least Jurassic Park had dinosaurs in it, and not giant locusts as your main freaking creature.
Well,
but I digress. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, bringing all the characters together and all that was good. Granted, it may not have had enough dinosaurs, but that's all I'm trying to say. But yeah, with Ahsoka,
they better bring it. They better bring their A game. They're going to have to.
I know, but that's the thing is, even if it is like good and it's just not good enough, I think that's just where fans are right now.
Well, if it's good and they don't like it, then they're not liking it just because they don't want to.
Yeah, it's like,
well, granted, the thing you sent us the little tweet or text or whatever about the guy just hating on the Mandalorian because he wants to be an asshole and hate the world. Yeah, I mean, there's always
those people exist. Those people are real.
So
very unhappy, and
I think the biggest thing that needs to happen is, I think Thrawn needs to be truly menacing, truly frightening, And I think Ahsoka episode season 1 needs to end on a down note with a Thrawn victory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need to set him up as somebody terrifying to be defeated.
Yeah.
To give a proper challenge to all of these characters, because let's even Moff Gideon, like, all right, I love Giancarlo Esposito. The guy's a phenomenal actor. I've liked him all the way back to when he was playing Yaphet Kotto's son on Homicide: Life on the Street, and that's what 30 something years ago now,
Give or take. Yeah.
So I think Giancarlo is a phenomenal actor. I think, honestly, if we look back on the last 3 years, he was poorly used. He was defeated at almost every turn. He never got the big win. He was defeated in season 1. He was defeated in season 2.
George Lucas said it best about storytelling when he was talking about the original trilogy. The first part of the story is setting up your characters and setting them on their adventure. The middle part is putting them in the worst situation and ending on a down note. And then the last part is about how do they get out and win.
Yeah. And so I really think it's just been a little too easy for our heroes in this world, in this galaxy. And I think that Thrawn needs to come in and seriously scare the shit out of the whole galaxy.
Well, look at Empire Strikes Back.
Exactly. We need this generation of heroes needs its Empire Strikes Back moment.
Well, for all that it is, it's such a great movie with the characters split up and then coming together and all that. There's such an emotional weight to these characters that we've learned that, can destroy a Death Star, to the fact that you lose a limb, you lose a character that is frozen in carbonite, in just that fucking last scene where there is literally no hope, but just staring out as you're about to go to, your final battles, not knowing what the end is going to be.
But tell me we didn't get that already with Rebels, our setup for Ahsoka.
Yeah.
We got that. We pretty much already got that. They got their asses handed to them.
Right.
They've been waiting all this time to get their comeuppance.
And I think that's why. That's why I don't think it'll work, Chad. Because first of all, the normies haven't seen it.
Yeah, not enough people have seen Rebels. Yeah, they're not going to get most of it.
So they're not going to get that. And also, Rebels at this point we're probably in.
What are we, 10 years removed from Rebels now?
No, more. Because Mando started in 9 ABY, so we're probably, and remember you got that 2-year time jump per Jon Favreau, so we're probably closer to 12 ABY.
No, I'm talking in real time though. In real time, like how long ago did Rebels end its run?
5 years ago, maybe more.
Yeah, it was 2018.
So
okay, all right.
But in universe time, you're looking at, for these characters, it's been 13, 14 years since Ezra took Thrawn with the Purrgil into the unknown regions. So it's been over a decade for these characters.
Yeah.
So, and they've known victories in betwixt that. They help, a lot of these characters help take down the Empire.
I also think that's kind of why it's important that you can't bring Ezra back too early.
I'll honestly be shocked if we see him at all in this season. I think it's going to be in the last episode.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. I think the point is about them getting to him, rescuing him, and then you throw them in the worst possible situation. Like, we found you, but we're all about to be dead.
Now, if you want a really badass twist, everybody thinks that Balin, Ray Stevenson's character, is going to play the Joruus C'baoth character from Heir to the Empire. He's not going to be actually Joruus C'baoth, but he's going to play that role, right? What if it's not? And what if the Dark Jedi that's gone crazy is actually Ezra?
Oh, wow.
And Ezra is helping Thrawn.
Holy shit.
Well,
wouldn't that throw everybody's knickers in a twist?
That would throw everybody for a loop.
But again, that's the great thing about, and you're going to hate this, I know you are, but I think that's also the great stories about Jedi and their arc is they're not perfect, that they do fall victim to these things, and then they can be redeemed.
Well, I don't hate that.
Well, I'm just saying that that's kind of what they were. That's what they were trying to do with Luke Skywalker. It just misfired.
Well, yeah, because they didn't. Because with Luke, they just. I'm not going to get into it again, but Luke, they just made it to a sad old man who gave up, and that was the reason why That's the reason why Mark Hamill hated the writing too. He didn't turn to the dark side; he just gave up. He screwed up, and then he threw a temper tantrum for 12 years.
I understand. That's how I'm saying that.
It's like what I'm talking about is, and not so much even that Ezra turned to the dark side. Let's dial that back a minute. Let's make it more nuanced than that. Ezra hasn't necessarily turned to the dark side, but Thrawn is a cold, hard, rational, intellectual being. What if now in the Thrawn books, there is a threat from the outer unknown regions that Thrawn really was using the Empire to protect the Chiss from, and that were the Grisk. Now, the Grisk is basically Disney's version of the Yuuzhan Vong, okay, from the New Jedi Order movie or books. What if they get out in the unknown regions and Thrawn shows Ezra this threat and shows that this threat could take down the fledgling New Republic or the Empire, and that they need to work together in order to defeat it? And now Ezra's come back with Thrawn, and they found the Empire in shambles. The New Republic is corrupt and ineffective. And now they're trying to take over because they see it as their duty, as their only way to protect the galaxy from what's coming. Now it becomes a very more multi-layered is he really the bad guy, or is he doing the right thing for the wrong reasons, or is he doing the wrong thing for the right reasons? Now it becomes a very layered story, a very, complex story. And I think it would make for a lot of really good character development, not only between Thrawn and Ezra, but between Ezra and Ahsoka.
The best thing about villains is not making them so hated, is making them sympathetic and, respected. I'll use this as an example because it's very Shakespearean. Sons of Anarchy. I mean, it was basically Hamlet with a biker gang. But,
right.
Katie Sagal's character, Gemma, in that entire series, you understand her reasons for survival. You understand why she does everything. You even understand why she kills Jack's wife. But you also know that there's no amount of redemption, that she eventually has to die. You have to balance this show out, and there's only one person that's going to be able to do it, and it's emotional. And it's literally one of the most fucking emotional scenes in that series, where they're both in tears, and you're like, well, I want her to die, but I don't really want her to die. There's so many layers to it.
Well, and I think you hit it there too. Something you said, though, I think is very important to be pointing out to our audience. It's not so much that villains have to be sympathetic. It's that they have to be rational and they have to be logical, and you have to understand their logic, even if you don't agree with their methods.
Well, isn't Thanos right to a point?
It's his methodology that's flawed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He did it. He went about it the wrong way, and that's why he's the villain. But again, we've all made jokes over the years since Endgame. The more we deal with the real world, the more like, God damn it, Thanos is right. So but I think that would make for some very interesting storytelling, and I think that gives you a chance to have multiple seasons with Ahsoka to round out these characters, and to go forward that would connect to the sequel trilogy and
more directly Filoni's,
right,
capstone movie that is going to cap all this off.
Right. And it bookends everything that he has created, cementing him as one of the greatest Star Wars writers out there, if not the best, for truly understanding, the lore. All right. We could talk Star Wars all morning, but we've got stuff to do, and we've been at it for a while. I think it's safe to say that we're a little trepidatious about going into anything Star Wars. It's not that we're not going to check it out. Obviously, we will. But Kathleen Kennedy, as always, has left a very sour taste in our mouths. And
if you think we're nervous for Ahsoka, wait till we start talking about the Acolyte.
We're going to check it out because we are professionals. But whether we make it to the end, that's a whole nother can of worms. Anyway, and speaking of fan fiction, I always in our magazine we like to actually pick some really good fan fiction stories by good authors that develop, characters that they didn't create. There's a lot of great fan fiction out there of Star Wars, or where they do create their own characters and they understand the lore. I'm just saying, if you're stuck, borrow from some of that. Find these writers. There's obviously that know more than you do.
And maybe toss them a couple grand for their work so they don't sue you later. Just a thought.
Lessons. See, we give you history lessons. All right. Final grade on season 3 of The Mandalorian. I personally gave it a 6. It was adequate enough based on the last 2 episodes, but I can't really give it a grade any higher than that. Brendan, how about you?
I'm actually really surprised that we ended up at the same place. I was going to give it a 5, but the last 2 episodes gave it a 6 for me.
Okay. Chad, how about you?
I'm going to go a little higher and I'll give it a 7.
Okay. All right. I didn't have the highest grade this time. What a shock.
Almost shocking. Yeah.
I've been a lot more critical about things. Like I really do. Like, Renfield, I gave an 8 just because it was such a fucking funny movie. And Nicolas Cage just being himself as Dracula, it made it work.
And sometimes all you need in your life is a little Nick Cage.
Right. Exactly. But some things, 6 doesn't mean it's absolutely terrible. It does what it does. It's just not as good as other things. And to me, season 3 of The Mandalorian is like the Shazam movies. They're adequate enough and entertaining enough, and I may watch them again. They're just not as good. So, all right, one final question. I know we have Guardians of the Galaxy 3 coming up in a couple of weeks, and while we will see it, and the Guardians are always fun, is there one superhero movie that you're absolutely looking forward to this year? And I want to know everybody's take on that. It's very hard because, this last phase of Marvel has not been very.
Yeah, I have an answer for you, though.
Okay.
So go ahead and finish.
No, that's what I was going around.
Okay.
I'm going to give my answer. Brendan,
okay.
Really looking for?
I love a good train wreck. I can't wait for The Flash.
Fair enough. Chad, how about you?
Spider-Verse.
Okay. Yes, I will give you on that. That will probably actually be really good. They haven't disappointed with that. I got to go with The Flash as well. I'm not so much about Ezra Miller, but you had me at Michael Keaton back.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I love Keaton. It'll be great to see him. But yeah, I mean, that movie, I'm sorry, that movie's going to be an absolute train wreck.
See, I agree.
I know it's going to be a bigger train wreck, that or Aquaman. Just watching how they deal with Amber Heard.
dude, it's been chopped up and cut up so many times.
I think The Flash was actually doing pretty well, and from some of the early test screenings, it's word has it that it is actually pretty good.
So,
but
we'll see. I
know it's.
Yeah.
Again, you had me at Michael Keaton as Batman. That's the only reason I cannot wait to see it.
We can always wait for Kraven the Hunter. We could put all our hopes on that.
The Marvels movie that's coming out in November. I know they dropped the trailer this week. I'm like, yeah, that looks cute.
That actually looks pretty fun.
Yeah, and
even Blue Beetle looks kind of entertaining.
Unfortunately, I'm still seeing him in Cobra Kai. So
yeah.
Well, there's that. Did we really need the Batman's a fascist line right at the end of the trailer? Like, really?
No shit.
Can we just be political? I mean, well, I will watch it. I'm going to look at him and I'm just going to keep thinking, when are we getting the final season of Cobra Kai?
No,
that's all.
I mean, don't get wrong. I'm happy he got a role. I'm glad Cobra Kai propelled him to something. So I hope it does well.
They got a good young cast, and I hope they continue to get more work and everything. Peyton List just did the School Spirits thing on Paramount. And that's actually really good. So, All right, everybody. We're going to round it out. We won't be back for a couple of weeks, so we are covering the Dallas Film Festival, and if there is one really good, there's a lot of good things that are showing up there, but there is one documentary that I cannot wait to watch, and there's a documentary about the Star Wars holiday.
Star Wars holiday special, yeah.
I'm actually, so I've got to get to I've got to get to see. I still haven't seen Dungeons and Dragons. I still haven't seen Super Mario, so I got to see those. But I got to be honest with you, I'm really intrigued by Russell Crowe's new movie, The Pope's Exorcist.
Pope's Exorcist, yeah.
You know, there was no press screenings about that movie, and it just kind of came and went. But I agree with you.
Yeah, I just seems like it could be fun, and it looks like the type of role that he would have an absolute blast playing.
Yeah. Now,
So,
I can't do a full review on it because we're under an embargo, but I can say at least this one thing. One of the things that is coming to the Dallas Film Festival, Thomas Jane is playing doing a movie called One Ranger, where he's basically a Texas Ranger who has to go to England to hunt down a criminal. Is he basically the Punisher as a Texas Ranger? Yes. Who cares? It's
an action movie with a fish out of water comedy undertone, and it unites two of the best characters from The Expanse.
Right. Also, you could make an argument that they're just making that very underrated John Wayne movie from the 70s, Brannigan, where he's a Chicago cop going to England and working with Richard Attenborough.
Yeah.
And that movie, while not great, is kind of a fun movie with John Wayne being a cowboy cop, or basically playing the same role he always did. So, watched One Ranger. Like I said, I won't do the full review yet, but I definitely enjoyed it for what it is. All right, everybody, it is time to say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Take care, folks.